Hey folks, welcome back. I'm Patrick. This is Motor Ramblings, and tonight I'm supposed to be interviewing Dewey. He is down at the southernmost point of South America, and he's eating dinner with a friend. He's going to be late, if he makes it at all. He said that it's Latin America time, and it's obviously pretty slow. He's not even eaten yet when he was supposed to be here. So I'm going to try to work through this a little bit and try to keep it going for a few minutes, maybe see what happens. And if you have any questions for me, I'm here. Fire away. And we'll just kind of hang on and wait for Dewey. So, as of the moment, it looks like I am here by myself, but I delayed the start from 7:30 to 8, and I didn't want to do it again. I didn't want to start posting on social media and putting the uh, the notifications out there that we were going to delay it more. Figured I'd just get on here, maybe do this little announcement here that Dewey's going to be late if he makes it at all. If he's not available in the next few minutes, then probably just try again on another night because I know you don't all want to just keep looking at me and my ugly mug. And so, anyway, I guess I can chat a little bit about what's been going on around here. It has been a very cold January here in the mountains of western North Carolina. We had some extreme wind, we had a lot of cold water, and even some snow. The rivers around here, there's quite a few of them, streams and rivers. Most of them burst their banks, at least some, in about 2 weeks ago, I guess. And water came up very high. We had heavy rain for a long time. And it was after that that we got the snow. And, the higher elevations, of course, got a lot more snow than the lower elevations. But even at some of the lower elevations, there was a dusting, an inch, not a lot of snow, but it was enough for them to pour salt all over the roads. I mean, it was, when you were riding on those salted roads, it looked like they were covered with snow. They put so much salt down. It was terrible. But then we did get several days of rain with a break yesterday. And I was able to get out on the Goldwing for a little while, and it was the first time in about 3 weeks that I was actually able to get out for a ride. And then, of course, today the rain came back. It's supposed to rain tonight, all day tomorrow. And then Sunday, Monday, they're talking snow again. So I see Jody's here. Hi, Jody. Miss you. And I see Jared Crozier. I see you here. It says, is it working? I'm assuming you can see me. Maybe. Give me Dewey or give me Patrick. Well, you got Patrick, no Dewey. Sorry. So there's Jared Crozier. There's John from Road Reality. Jody from Purple on 3, and she got the message. Yeah, Dewey's thinking about slacking out now. He had a dinner date with a buddy of his, and they got started late. Then the dinner came late, if it's come at all yet. And he and I have been talking back and forth. That's why we delayed it till 8. But as it turns out, even 8 o'clock wasn't late enough. So we're gonna wait on him a little bit. You're stuck with me. Ask me some questions. Give me something to talk about. I see Adventure Tomek is here. Sorry, Tom. No Dewey. And so it's you're stuck with me at the moment. Hey, Jared, you gave a thumbs up. Awesome. Thanks. But anyway, Jody also did a cross country trip with Tommy, and she had quite an adventure, and the videos were fantastic. And another one of these people that's living the dream that I haven't started or tried to do yet, and am hoping to do soon. Spider Wayne, hey, how are you? Are you retired yet? It's got to be, isn't it coming up in the next couple of weeks? I think. I hope. And so, Jody, when is the next videos coming out? I know I just saw the one where you brought a Christmas gift to what is BD Rider. That was pretty cool. Oh, Spider Wayne, that's coming up quick. How's it feel? I know that last couple of weeks for me was just I couldn't describe the emotions. All I kept thinking about was I'm almost done. I'm almost done. And now that it's been a year, it's crazy. That last 2 weeks before I retired took longer than the last year has gone since I've retired. So thank you for all popping in here and coming on to see Dewey and not having him here. But yeah, I bet it is a little weird, Wayne. And so Spider Wayne is from New York, originally from Canada. He rides a Can-Am and a couple other bikes, including now an adventure bike. And he is about to retire. And he's going to go get up to some no good on that adventure bike. Right, Wayne? You and Jarvis Biker, you're going to have to get together and do some adventure riding. And hopefully I can join you at some point too. All right. Ask me a question or three. I can answer questions a lot better than I can just sit here and chat. This is not something I've ever done. All right, let's see. Jody says that she may not have a video tomorrow. She's working on it. Uh-oh. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Jody. I hope it's not too horrible. Yeah, don't like that. What kind of grout in the cinder blocks behind you? I don't know. That stuff. I think I'm going to try to go to VAM. I haven't made any reservations or anything, but I do think I want to go again. I missed last year. I showed up early Saturday morning and left early Sunday morning, so I really didn't get to do much. I really only went just to surprise John from Road Reality. Carson, yes, we are here. Sorry about that. Dewey had some issues and we had to reschedule it and try to do a new live stream, and we're still waiting on him, as you can see. Yes, Jody, I am very sorry. That's terrible. Yes, flat cap racer. Yes, retirement is great. And I'm trying to find some people myself that are retired that I can do some more riding with. Hopefully, I can get Roger to retire at some point and he and I can go off and do a lot of trips. But I am starting to reach out and talk to some other folks that have retired, and hopefully I can do some more with a bunch of these other guys and learn if our riding is compatible. As you probably know, with all the riding you've done, that sometimes you get riding with people and it's tough to make it work. They have different paces that they do things. And some people are a lot faster getting their tents pulled down or getting out of a hotel room, gas stops, trying to get someone that you can ride with and have a good relationship with while you're doing the riding can sometimes be a little tricky. And so even if I find other retired folks to ride with, doesn't mean I'll be riding with them a ton, because they may think I'm too slow. They may think I'm too fast. There's a lot that goes into riding long distance with other folks. Hey, Andy, how are you? I see you're still working on the camper. Are you planning on sleeping out in the camper tonight? And how cold is it going to be if you do that? And so, yeah, I'm hoping that come March, I'm going to start riding more. Hey, Chuck Hansen, I bet it's cold in South Dakota. But yeah, in February, I'm planning on splitting for a little bit to go visit my mom down in Florida. I'm not going to ride this time. I'm going to drive down, spend a couple of weeks down there. And then hopefully by the time mid-February into March, the riding weather is going to get a lot better. And if the overnight temperatures aren't below freezing, I'm going to start trying to do some camping and some overnight trips, even if it's just a couple of days at a time to begin with. Okay, Road Glide Andy, how cold is it out in that camper? I know you got a heater plugged in, but what's the outside temperature? And Jody asked Chuck where in South Dakota because Jody's been there. Um, I'm kind of jealous of the camper, Andy. Been looking at one of them off and on for a long time. I love the idea of it. Just haven't been able to pull the trigger on it yet. I know Wayne, Spider Wayne, also has a mini mate and he loves it and he's got it kitted out fantastic. Fortunately, I have not seen it in person yet because if I had seen it in person, I probably would have had one by now. So save myself some money by not running into Wayne and his camper yet. It's going to be a cold night out there, Andy, even with the heater. I know, just buy one. That's what everybody says. But give me the money to buy one, and I will. How's that? Yeah. Um, Not sure how to keep this going. I have all this information, all this stuff I want to talk to Dewey about, but he's not here. Yes, Wayne, I hope to see it this year. And yeah, you'll probably convince me to buy one, even though I probably shouldn't at this point. But I go back and forth between loving the tent camping to wanting a pop-up camper like that, and even considering toy haulers and pulling the bikes different places. I just can't make up my mind. I can't make up my mind on anything really. So, it's just another one of those things I dream about but not do anything with. Yeah, I've seen the bunkhouses. I'm on the Facebook sites where they have all the pop-up campers and the for sale and stuff, and I keep getting tempted, but then I don't know what to do. I should just buy one. I know, I know. Hey, Patrick, good to see you. How are you? Been a while since we've been talking. Where are you now? You still up in New England? What are you up to nowadays? Yes, Carson, his bike is running, but it's still running a little bit rough. He's going to replace the spark plugs, probably replace the wires. He's got 4 carburetors in that thing, so digging into those is going to be a trick. And getting adjustments on the carburetors, he has to buy some special tools just because of where all the adjustment screws are for the carburetors. But he's going to start with the plugs and the wires. Roger has a carb syncing kit, and we're going to get to those after he replaces the plugs and the wires. We're going to try to sync it up, and hopefully all that will do what needs to be done. If not, he may have to try to take the carbs out and work on them, which nobody really wants to do at this point. Outside of Boston, all right, you got to be more specific. That's where I'm from. I lived just south of Boston growing up before I moved down here to North Carolina back in November of '94. I've actually been here now longer than I was up in New England. So I think I can call myself a native to here now, maybe. Yes, both his bikes actually have 4 carbs on it. His Yamaha XJ650 and his '85 Honda Interceptor. They both have the 4 carbs on it. And he's worked on the carbs on the Yamaha a little bit, not too much. And he wants to get the Honda running great, but it's going to take some work. Yes, I still say ka and ba every now and then, but it depends on who I'm talking to. If I talk to my family up there, that I will say a ka and a ba, but when I'm down here, it's a car and a bar. So, so where exactly are you, Patrick? I'm I know a lot of the towns and stuff up there because I grew up in Kingston, which was down near Plymouth, where the pilgrims came and landed on that rock that got chipped away and turned into just a pebble. So, Coke or soda. When I was up there, everything was a Coke. It didn't matter if it was a Pepsi or an orange drink. If I wanted a drink, it was, hey, I'm going to go get a Coke, even if I went and got an orange drink. So uh, down here, I try to be more specific. I want a Sunkist. I want a Coke. I want a Pepsi. I want a root beer. So up there, everything was soda. Yes, really. Uh, so let me tell you a little bit about what happened with Dewey. He sent me a message. He's 2 hours ahead of us, so it's 10:15 there now. And he had sent me a message, and we were going to do this live stream tonight, and we scheduled it for 7:30 because that would be 9:30 where he is, and he didn't want to be on too terribly late. And so we talked about it and we scheduled it, and I put all this stuff out on social media and went ahead and got everything ready. Even went into the what is a StreamYard and started the process to do the live stream. And he sent me a message saying that his buddy Cristiano, who he's supposed to go out to eat with tonight, was a little bit late getting there. And he said, let's back it up to 8 o'clock. And then he sent me some messages and he said, still waiting on the food, still waiting on the food. And it got to be the point where, okay, he's not going to make 8 o'clock. It's just not going to happen. And I thought, well, I'm not going to reschedule it again because I already have 2 live streams out there because I didn't know how to delete the first one. And so I just thought, okay, well, I'll just get on here and you guys have to look at my ugly mug for a little bit. Hopefully he'd show up. I have not heard from him. I don't know if his food has got there yet or not. Let me check. Okay. He said that he finally got his food and just trying to pay is taking a little while, but he thinks he's going to be here shortly. So if you don't mind hanging out with me for a little bit longer, we'll wait on him and hopefully he'll be here before we know it. And we can get on to actually me interviewing him, which is kind of what I'm better at than this. So I'm hoping he gets here quick because let him do some talking. And yeah, I agree, Tom. It's unprofessional. And so now, speaking of in the side chat here, I know that Tom, you actually rode with Dewey for a long time in Mexico, so you and Dewey have met. Jody, you and Dewey have met. Carson and Dewey have met. I have met Dewey, but I have not met Carson or Tom. So it's kind of cool how the whole community gets to know each other and there's all these different connections. I've not met Spider Wayne in person yet, but I feel like I have because I've met Tommy and Jody and they are real good friends with Wayne and of course doing the social media stuff. Patrick Orvis I have met, Road Glide Andy and his wife I have met. Steve M, you have a 2010 Honda Goldwing. You live in East Bridgewater and you drive through Kingston all the time. That's where I grew up, Kingston, mostly. And I actually almost bought a house in East Bridgewater when I was married the first time. So I know the area. That's pretty awesome. Is your 2010 Goldwing bright yellow? I tell her I said hello to Road Glide Andy. Quick story. Yesterday, I did manage to get out and go for a ride, and I stopped at a little general store and Trust, North Carolina. It's on that NC 209, which you've seen. If you've seen my videos, you've seen me on that road a lot. It's a great road. So stopped at the store, and it's kind of a motorcycle stopping point. And when I got there was nobody around. I stopped. I grabbed a drink, a soda, even though it was Coke. And as I was getting ready to leave, like 6 or 7 folks pulled in on some BMWs. They were all together and they came in and, I was saying, hey, and we were talking for a little bit, nice bikes, what we do when we see other people on motorcycles. Gray's a great color, Steve. And one of the guys comes over and he says, "I've met you before." I'm like, "Oh." My first thought is, "Crap, I don't remember him. I don't recognize him." And he says, um, "Oh yeah, you were here with your wife on this bike." I'm like, "Man," I said, "you got a great memory." He goes, and he just kind of waved his hand at my motorcycle. Yeah, you're right. It does stick out. It is a little memorable, but I'm okay with that. Jared, I live basically in Weaverville, North Carolina, just north of Asheville. Um, my address is actually in Alexander, but where I'm in Alexander, most people consider to be Weaverville, and it's between they're Weaverville, then Marshall, then Hot Springs, North Carolina, in between Asheville. And so you can kind of make a quick jaunt from Asheville. You cut right through Weaverville, right through Marshall, and then you're into Hot Springs. And I'm right in the middle of all that. Um, yeah, Sparta and Murphy. Murphy is quite a ways away from me. I'm on the Tennessee border, but because of the shape of North Carolina, to get to Murphy's a couple hour ride from me. Yes, Road Glide Andy. And Steve M, you need to help me with this one. Um, you two need a Goldwing. Now, it's not a Harley, so it doesn't have that name recognition, although I think everybody knows what a Goldwing is. But as far as comfort goes, it's just unbeatable. Now, you looked super comfortable on the Road Glide, and I'm sure that you were very comfortable. But you would be, at a minimum, you will be at least that comfortable on a Goldwing. And it's such a smooth ride. It's got all the power you could want. Yeah, Big Bird. Me and Big Bird. It's just an incredible bike. Now you saw Wind Road Therapy was on the bike with me. She fell asleep, and I know you. I think you said you fell asleep on yours with Road Glide Andy on occasion as well. Um, so at a minimum, it's going to be just as comfortable. But if you're pulling a trailer, I think you're going to have better luck with the Goldwing, just because it's going to probably handle it a little bit better. I'm not trying to bash any bike. I'm not trying to say anything's bad, but it's such a smooth ride and such a reliable, easy bike. It's just gonna go and go and go. And Roger's here from Riding the Thin Lines. He wanted me to call my bike the Nuclear Banana, and I just fought that and fought that. It Big Bird is better. The Nuclear Banana, I could see people saying some bad things about it. And so I did not go with the Nuclear Banana, and I'm still going to fight that. And back to Road Glide Andy. As Steve M says, I have the heated seats. It's got the armrest, and there's tons of room back there for the passenger. You know, I think you're gonna love it. You just need to get on one. Once you ride one, I don't think you'll have any doubts that you want one. Rob, it's really good to see you. But as it turns out, you're really not late to the party, because this is a Dewey interview without the Dewey. He's late for the party. um, yeah, Chuck, that's great. I would love for my wife to ride her own bike, but at this point, she just doesn't have any desire to, and she'd rather be a passenger back there where she can relax and enjoy the ride. Speaking of Wind Road Therapy, hi, Des. And the Smyrna Cowboy just got here again. For you, Riding the Thin Lines, Wind Road Therapy, Rob, Parallel Camper. Um, Dewey's not here yet, so you're not late. We're kind of killing time waiting for Dewey to get here. Yes, you were just resting your eyes. Yeah, I know you were, Des. Yep. And yes, we were talking about you. I was talking to Road Glide Andy, trying to convince him and his wife that they need a Goldwing. And we mentioned you falling asleep when we were up there at the Ohio Windy 9, which was an awesome trip. And I hope they do something like that again real soon. Jared, you need to try a Goldwing. It's so much more athletic and sporty than you can even imagine. And I love it. I have a blast on that bike. Um, I was out there yesterday riding that on that 209. Okay, Roger, go ahead and give it to me. I was on 209 again. Um, but it's just so fun. And I have not ridden the new style Goldwing yet either, Chuck. Everybody tells me if I ride one, I'm going to buy one. So I don't want to do that because I don't want to spend the money on a new bike yet. And so I'm going to put that off for as long as I can because it would be nice to get one of those new ones. I just don't want to spend the money. And you're right, Roger. Again. And yes, your statement was perfect timing, Des. Um, Road Glide Andy and his lovely wife are watching this right now, and Road Glide is trying to get her convinced to buy a Goldwing. So I was just doing my best to convince them. Yes, Smyrna, they are. It sucks having a coupon book. I love that. Yep. And so, anyway, for those of you who just showed up, I don't know if I told you, um, we're still hoping Dewey's going to make it, but at the moment, he's a little bit late. Um, Hopefully, he'll be here before too long, because I know you don't want to be looking at me and what I'm saying and listening to me ramble on about Goldwings. Uh, a silver wing, yeah, that would probably be really good. But even the Goldwings have a very low seat height. I bet you'd do all right on a Goldwing. You take it. I did a video. I don't even know if it's come out yet. I don't think it has. Where I talked about the Goldwing being a great bike for folks. Yeah, I ramble constantly. Um, Once you've been on the Goldwing for a very short time, it, if you've never ridden a big bike before, you can get on the Goldwing and you can learn to ride it. It's fairly easy, but it is intimidating. And when you first get on it, you feel all that weight because it's just an intimidating bike. But once you get moving, it's like any other bike, and um, it's an easy bike to ride. It's just you got to get over that initial shock. And if Chalisi can do it, you can do it. All right, Wayne. Hopefully, we'll talk to you soon. And Adventurous Rider, I don't work for the post office anymore. Remember, I'm retired. You can blame Amazon, you can blame the post office, but I have nothing to do with it anymore. Gotta go. The wife says I'm a bad influence. He's grounded. Well, enjoy the camper, Road Glide Andy. I hope you have a good one. And yes, Chuck, I can't believe that all touring bikes don't have reverse. It's amazing to me. I mean, they're heavy bikes. They're 900 plus pounds. Um, Moving them, even on a slight downhill grade, can be so tough. So I'm just really surprised that they don't have reverse in a lot more of these big bikes. And yeah, Carson, you can still fuss at me if you want. Just send me a Instagram message or a text. Yeah, I'll respond in kind. Yeah, and yeah, Roger again. Hmm. Yeah, wind road therapy. Road Glide Andy's sleeping out in his camper tonight. He's got a heater out there. He says it's 39 degrees. I don't know if I could do that if I've got my house right next to the camper. I think I'd be right back in the house. Yeah, I can't imagine the spiders not having a reverse. That would be insane. But those are some nice machines. I loved Jody's when got a good close look at it. Although I didn't get to ride it, Jody. Need to fix that next time. um, I'd like to ride a spider just to see what it's like. I'm still one of these people that's two wheels. And don't know if I can do the three wheel, but if I ever have to do the three wheel, it's definitely going to be a Can-Am, and I will probably end up on one at some point, I'm sure. And yeah, Jared, it's 55 here right now. but tomorrow I think the high is supposed to be like 40 and they're talking snow again. So loving that because they'll probably pour salt all over the roads again, and then we'll have to wait for rain to get all that stuff washed away before we can ride again. Smyrna, I'm hoping to go to VAM again this year. I haven't made any reservations. I'm planning on going, if I go, I'm going to plan on going for the whole event rather than what I did last year where um, Roger and I went Saturday morning and then left Sunday morning. Um, I was riding at 55. Actually, yesterday, Jared, it was mid 60s and I was able to take a ride. Roger, did you ride yesterday when it was so nice out? Roger? Anyway, uh, today was rainy. It was still fairly warm, about 55 most of the day today, but it was raining and I had my grandson with me, so no bike. And Smyrna, thanks for that. That's pretty cool. I would love to take that for a ride. And 65, excellent. Congratulations. But Jared, yeah, I'm not going to ride in 55 when it's raining at night. So I'm not going to do that. But hopefully next week I can get some riding in before I before I get some riding in before I head down to Florida to visit my mom. I'm sorry, I was laughing. Roger from Riding the Thin Lines just told me to look at my phone, which I'm not going to do because it's going to be something that I don't want to see because I was asking him what he was doing yesterday while I was riding my motorcycle. Some of us retired, some of us didn't. We'll just leave it at that. um, Carson, what is your weather like down there? You're further south than I am, but I know you've been getting some pretty nasty weather too, haven't you? Where exactly are you, Carson? And what has your weather been like down there at this point? I know, Des, you've had some cold weather down in Florida at some points. Um, what's it been like the last few days? Because I might be heading down there in February, and I need to know if I need to bring winter clothes. So I'm going to check on Dewey here for a second, see what he's up to. He said 10 more minutes max, but I don't know when he sent that. So um, hopefully it'll be within the next few minutes. Dewey will be here and we can kind of get on with this. Carson, it was colder here than it was up there last week. We were down to 10 degrees and it was like 20 to 30 up there. Yep. On a wing and a hog. Hey, man, how are you? Meridian, Mississippi. Okay. 82 the last 2 days. So no riding. Yeah. Thoughts with you, Des, and with the little man. And so I'm thinking about you, my little pup. Okay, Meridian, Mississippi. All right. I'll have to put that on my list of destinations, Carson. You have to show me around a little bit. I'll come pop in on you. It was -6 in Smyrna, Tennessee. Whew. Yeah, we had a couple of days it got down right near zero, and of course the wind chill was ridiculously low. The video that I had that came out today, we were out in the snow, the little bit of snow that we had, but it was enough for my grandson to go sledding. It was like 17 degrees, but the wind chill was like zero. So we did some sledding, but we weren't out there very long. It was too cold for this old man. You have a week or two of winter and then it starts to warm back. Okay, well, hopefully that last week was your only winter week of the year and it will start warming up. That's good. I like that. And yeah, it's awesome that you and Des got to meet up. And yeah, I will definitely take that into account that Carson's a great tour guide because, yeah, I'll have him show me around. 9 winters in Poplarville, Mississippi when we were commercial beekeepers. Oh, okay. You hauled the bees there for the winter. That must have been something. And look at this. You made it. Say something. Uh-oh. I don't hear you. Anybody else hear him? Hello? Hello? Nope, we can't hear you, Dewey. Are you muted? You're not muted on my end. Nothing. So, hey, hi, Mom. I was just telling everybody I'm going to be coming to see you in a couple of weeks. So, we're waiting on Dewey. He just showed up and we can't hear him. Someone type what you think he's saying. That must be Cristiano behind him. Uh, yeah. Nope. Still can't hear you. um, yeah, we're gonna try that again. See if we can bring him back with some sound. But anyway, yes, everybody say hi to my mom. I'm gonna get to go down and give her a big old hug in a couple of weeks. Yes, Motorbomb. We were getting the silent treatment from him. Does he need a whiteboard to write stuff to us? I love it. Yeah, we're all just gonna have to learn sign language and try to write notes. Yep. Communicate with them through sign language or him writing notes. And so let's hopefully he come back in again, and we will hope that we can hear him. So the Dewey live stream has turned into quite the adventure, and I am going to let him explain that all and apologize and all that good stuff because this has been torture for me. Oh, so, all right, Dewey, where are you? All right, I'm going to try to invite him again, see if we can get him here. Hopefully, we can make this work, make it work soon. So, I will try to get him on so that we can do this and actually maybe look halfway professional doing it. Okay. So, Dewey, if you're watching, try again. Add to stage. I see you, but I don't hear you. Is it your computer? Is it your Wi-Fi? Echo gets automatically adjust mic volume, reduce mic volume. Yeah, it's not on my end, so I don't know what's going on there. My mom says you need to write notes. Just put a note up. So, yeah, I don't know what's happening, folks, but we're trying real hard to make this work. No, still don't have you, Dewey. Yeah, type something in the chat, Dewey. Say hey, something. Um, but yeah, I've got nothing here. Uh, Well, you can see the chat. You can see who's here. And you can wave. I've been I've been trying to carry this for like 40 minutes without you, and now you're here, and I can't even hear you. So, hey, Cristiano. Actually, I do not have it muted on my end. I tried that, Tom. I can mute it and unmute it. Still not working. Yep, there's Cristiano giving the thumbs up. I'm guessing that means that Dewey is going to go try something else to make this work. So, not sure what that is, Cristiano, but all right, guys. Somebody tell me what Cristiano's trying to say there with that thumb to the mouth, because that's kind of scary. Yeah. Post-it note. Oh, well, guys, I guess this is used to hear about the old TV shows when they had problems going live and the different things that would go wrong. Change my ticker. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. But yeah, the old TV shows where they used to have um, all these issues with going live. The Carol Burnett show is one that kind of comes to mind. That, uh, yeah, I think Dewey can hear me. Harvey Korman and Tim Conway would get going off on these little tangents, and they were trying to bust each other up because they knew it was live, and they would bust each other up. Uh-oh, he's going to try a different camera and different microphone, so hopefully that will work. But when you have a live, you have issues, and trying to work through them because it's live is sometimes an adventure.
Can you? Oh.
Sort of. Try that again.
Well, now I can't hear you. Hang on.
We can hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
I can hear you. Hey.
We have success. All right. Dewey, I have been here for the last 40 minutes. So you're on your own.
Is there anybody left is the question.
Yes, there's actually quite a few people here that are just waiting to talk to you.
Well, that's great. And we've got Cristiano.
Hey, Cristiano, we got to know, what was this? What was this all about?
That we were drinking beers.
Drinking beers. Have many beers.
So you left me hanging so you could drink.
Well, we were waiting for food too, and then waiting for beer. Everything was happening on Latin America time. But
yeah, okay.
What you're going to find out in the videos that come up is Cristiano's going to be a big part.
Hanging so you could drink. I get it.
Yeah. But Cristiano's going to be a big part of the videos that you guys see coming up. This guy's an absolute legend. Everybody knows about Cristiano down here now.
Yes, sorry about my English is not very well, but I'm traveling with my Harley Davidson in Carretera Austral, and everybody knows about Cristiano in Carretera Austral.
Okay, nice.
It's fantastic. So he rode the 1,000-mile dirt road through Patagonia on his Harley Davidson Softail Heritage.
Yes, Heritage.
Softail Heritage.
Wow.
So we ended up meeting up together, and we rode the entire Carretera together. We just sort of said, we're doing the same route, we're going the same places, let's do this together.
Yes, and now we meet again here in Ushuaia.
Yep. And now we're at the bottom of the world and we met up again. So it's going to be a fantastic bunch of videos that people are going to get to see of Cristiano and I's adventures on the Carretera Austral.
And when do they start?
When I get to editing them.
So just whenever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still in Peru. I have probably 1 or 2 more Peru videos to do, probably 2 or 3 Chile videos of my working my way south, and then we'll get to the Carretera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so
right.
in the next month and a half, probably we'll start those videos.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. We just saw the beginning of Peru, but before we get to that, you and I last did this in August, and you were still in the United States.
Was it that long ago?
It was. Yeah.
No,
You
no,
were.
no, no. We did the one with John because I was in the hotel room in Peru where the Wi-Fi didn't work at all.
Oh, well, I don't count that one because it didn't work. um, although I don't know, maybe I shouldn't count this one. It's been so long. But
Yeah.
tell us, all right, from either one of those points, tell us what's been happening. You know, I know exactly where you are, but most people don't
Yeah.
at this point. So kind of catch us up from where we were to where you are right now.
Sure. A lot has happened. So I left Peru, and I was in a hurry to get south. My family flew down and joined me for Christmas in Chile. So that was the date that I wanted to get there, and that was absolutely fantastic. So if my mom's probably not watching, she doesn't watch anything live, but if
Okay.
my sister might be watching. So if Heather's out there, it was
Hi, Heather.
it was really fun to see the family in Chile.
And so you
And
made it to there, obviously, before they
I
got
made
there or when they got there.
I made it to there, and then one of the big things that I wanted to do while I was down here was the Carretera Austral. It's a road through Chilean Patagonia, and it's more than half of it is unpaved. I think it's close to 1,000 miles, and more than half of it's unpaved, and it goes through some of the most amazing places you'll ever see. The videos and stuff, as amazing as they're going to be, won't do it justice in person. It's just you're gobsmacked through a lot of it.
Okay.
So I did that, and then I took a ferry down into the very southern part of Chile you can go to, and then I've ridden to Ushuaia, and that's actually where I'm at right now, is in Ushuaia, which is the southernmost city in the world. So
Yes.
I'm basically from here, I'm turning around, and everything will be heading back north.
And how long are you going to be there?
I am leaving tomorrow.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought
I've
you were
been
going to be
here.
there for a couple of days.
I've been here for a week or close to a week now. So I did some things. We'll do the spoiler alerts. I rode out to a abandoned Navy base that is the most southern point that you can reach by vehicle anywhere in the world. That's not Ushuaia. Most people stop in Ushuaia. I didn't. I went farther. That's going to be a very, very fun video to share, I hope.
All right. Before we get to the how many countries, you told me a little bit of a story about that, getting down to the naval base there. I thought that was a great story. So if you don't mind, share it with everybody here.
Sure. Well, there's sort of two ends of the road down here. There's where the Highway 3 actually ends is in a national park, and you have to pay to enter and go there. And when I got there, there was a gazillion tourists, tour buses, and a crowd, and I could hardly get a picture in front of the sign. I did end up getting a picture at the sign.
And what's
But
the sign say?
it just says, Alaska's, 20,000 miles away or whatever. And, and, this is the end of the road. But if you do some research and you look around at maps, you find out that it's not really the end of the road. There's another road that goes farther south, and it's a small dirt road that goes to nothing. It goes to an abandoned naval / Coast Guard radar station that's been replaced with computers and automated radar, so they don't need anybody there. So there's nothing there. And I rode down there, and I got there, and there's not a soul around. It's just me, and there's 4 or 5 horses that are grazing in the field of this abandoned base. And I just kind of sat there, and that was the moment that I really soaked in the fact that I was at the very bottom of the world, and I'd ridden my motorcycle all the way there. Well, most of the way there, right? Minus the stolen one in motorcycle and the chunk that I missed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
you were telling me that
it was
like 18,000 miles.
Yeah, I've done 18,000 miles since I left Oregon the second time. That doesn't count all of the Mexico and all of that, but just to go from Portland to Miami and then the route that I took down from Columbia to here is 18,000 miles.
And you didn't even go straight from Portland to Miami. You had to go down to the California-Mexico border and then come across the southern part of the country just to get to Miami.
Yeah.
So you took
Which
the
was probably better.
long way.
Yeah. It was a long way on a very small motorcycle.
Very small. Yes. Now,
Yeah.
when you were going down the dirt road and you were heading down toward what is the absolute southernmost point that you could go to, you ran into a gate, didn't you?
I did.
What
gated.
were you thinking then when you saw the gate?
I thought this is the end of the road and I'm as far south as I'm going to get, but it's not the end of the road where everybody that does this goes to. And I wasn't sure what the rules are. In the US, you get to public land and a gate, and if it's unlocked, as long as you open it and then close it behind you, you're usually okay, unless it's posted that it's private property. I didn't really know the rules here in Argentina on that, so I wasn't really willing to go through the gate as it was. So I turned around and I rode back to the first house that the last house that I'd seen that had a gate in it, and I stood out front and I just kind of hollered, hola, hola, hoping somebody would hear me. And eventually a kid did hear me, and he runs out from the barn and runs up the gate, and I asked him if the road was closed or can I go through? And he's like, no, you can go. He's like, just close the gate behind you. And so I rode down there, and, there's a bunch of horses standing around looking at me and my motorcycle while I'm opening the gate, and you could see the wheels turning in their head, wondering, what this guy's doing. But yeah, closed the gate behind me, headed off, and I got to go to the very end.
And when you were at the very end, you said it was a Coast Guard station, so you were at the ocean.
You could see the water on two sides. It's kind of out on a point, and that's just where it ends.
So,
and there's no hoopla, there's no sign, there's nothing there that says this is it. It's just that's where the road actually ends.
Okay. And so you had some time to sit there at what is technically the absolute bottom of the world that's habitable. And I mean, what was that like? I don't want you to be like, I don't want to be a therapist or anything here, but what did that feel like? What you got there, you did it, you accomplished this huge thing.
It's funny that you say that, because you kind of get there and you go, well, now what do I do? There's nothing to do here.
Oh, okay, I did it. Big deal.
Yeah, you pat yourself on the back, you take a couple pictures, you spend a few minutes just kind of soaking it in and processing what it's like, and then you just kind of say, okay, now I turn around and I start heading back the other way. That's it. You
do realize that's like a huge letdown to that question.
I wish there was a better story, but the thing is because it's not a touristy spot and there's not anything there, what are you going to do? Spend half a day sitting by yourself? You just kind of go, okay, I did it. And, now I turn around.
These professional interviewers, they try to dig. That was the question. That was the one where the tears were going to fall. That was where you were going to tell me that you learned all about anyway.
No, I wish that I did. What's funny is, as I was filming video for it, I stopped probably 20 miles before I got there, and I filmed a bit, and I was probably a lot more introspective about it then as I was getting close, and I was thinking about the fact that I was getting close, and that's where the bit is. Are you heading to bed, Cristiano? Oh, I'm just getting comfortable. But I kind of talked to the camera a bit and talked to the people, specifically that I was thinking about all the people that helped me along the way to get to where I was.
So you did
because
have that introspection. It just wasn't
I
where I
did.
thought it was.
It wasn't where you thought it was. It was beforehand, and I was thinking about the fact that I was so close, and I just had a little bit farther to go, and that I wouldn't have ever been where I was at without a lot of other people and a lot of strangers that helped me in the process. You know, I especially thought of all the people in Mexico that helped me, and you know, there was certainly a time when I thought that was the end of the trip or potentially the end of the trip.
Mhm.
And you know, those are the people that I'm going to be forever grateful to. And you know, then I mentioned stuff like Cristiano, you know, and having such an amazing time on the carretera and the camaraderie and the friendship that we got to have from doing that together. And
Mhm.
you know, you think about all that stuff, and then the thought was, you know, was there is a change in that. Up until that point, every mile that I'd ridden was a mile farther from home that I was doing on this trip, and that now I'm turning that corner, and in one way or another, it's going to be a long roundabout way to get there, but every mile is going to get me a little bit closer to home
Mhm.
from where I'm at. You know, I'll never be farther away than I was that day. And
And
you know,
very
you do
few
think about that stuff.
very few people will ever be further away from their home as you were when you were there, or as you're there.
Yeah, that's true. You know, I'm literally on the other side of the world. Farther, I'm as far south as sort of the northern British Columbia area. So if you think like Prince Rupert and north, that's kind of the latitude that I'm at.
Okay.
But on the wrong side of the world.
Yeah, the whole other side. It's amazing to me. Absolutely amazing. All
Yeah.
right. Some of the folks don't know the story about the DR650, and it kind of goes into Carson's question you can see in the chat. Um, kind of talk about that
Yeah,
just a
I
little
haven't
bit.
really been paying attention to the chat. I've been really bad at it.
Carson
Yeah,
asked,
so
do you see Carson's question now?
yeah, how many countries have I passed through? I think I'm in my 8th country now because I missed that big chunk of Central America where you cross through about 6 countries in, you know, 200 miles of riding
Right.
because it's a small area.
Okay.
But yeah,
Carson, we are
US,
going to get to your
Mexico.
question. You talked about getting down south, and you reached that point and you're going to turn around, and you said, well, you know, it was like, okay, I'm just going to turn around and go back. Am I going to get the same answer with this one, with the equator? Did you have a sense of
No,
accomplishment there?
I had a big sense of accomplishment at the equator. And what's funny is that, you know, a lot of it, I didn't ride the route that normal people take, because I went through Florida to Colombia to get there. And the equator happened really like 3 days after I left Donkey Sunrise in Colombia. It's really not that far. But that was sort of the first reminder that I'm doing something that's a big landmark along the way. The last time I crossed anything was in Mexico before my bike was stolen. I crossed the Tropic of Cancer in Mexico, and then you know a lot had happened, and you sort of think I hadn't even thought about those accomplishments or any lines on maps. It was just kind of trying to figure out how to keep doing this. And when I got to the equator, it was like, wait a second, I'm at a different space. You know, I'm actually really in a different part of the world now. The stars are different, right? You know, when you get into the southern hemisphere, there's a lot that's different. You know, you're used to looking up at the night sky when you're camping at home and going, you know, everybody I know is looking at these same stars as me. I'm not alone. And when you get
Right.
to the southern hemisphere, you realize that you're looking at a different set of stars than the people back home are looking at.
That's just something that, you know, we don't think about. You know, us non-world travelers don't really think about that kind of thing very often.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've had those thoughts in my camp, at night by myself, and especially when you're multiple nights in a tent alone in the world, and you look up at the stars and you go, and I'm not alone because everybody I know is looking up at the same set of stars I am. And
Right.
when you get down here, it's not the same set of stars. I can see the
So
Southern Cross.
you really do feel
Nobody
alone.
else can see. Yeah, it's quite a bit different. So in that regard, the equator was kind of a big step. Getting down
Good night,
here.
Mom.
Oh, good night. Um,
She's been dying to see you.
yeah, getting down to the bottom of it was a bit different because we've all been, even if it's a 1 week trip, right? You always hit that point where you turn around and head home.
Yeah.
And I sort of realized that it's just a completely different scale, but I'm having that same moment. But you
Okay.
home is so far away, it's not even thinking about it now, right? I don't even know what I'm doing for the next 2 weeks, really. I have some ideas of what I want to do, but I don't know day to day. I usually am picking where I'm going at breakfast most days. I'm looking at a map and going, how far do I think I can get, and what points do I have marked that look interesting that I want to go to?
Right. And we'll get to that very question in a little bit, but I've seen these adventure travelers, these world traveling motorcycle folks, and even some that aren't on motorcycles, and the hand,
Get a
that big
hand.
hand where you take the picture. What is that all
Yeah.
about? Where did that come about? How did it come about? And why is it a destination?
I don't know if I have the good answers for that. I've seen it for 20 plus years that I've been following people who have done trips like this, and they all stop there. So I certainly had it marked on my map, and I stopped there. But how it started, I don't know. It's just a hand in the middle of the desert, and
You don't know who built it, why?
it was somebody's art project, and they built it because they wanted to. Beyond that, I don't
Okay.
know that there's much of a greater reason. It just sort of turned into. It's a great photo opportunity, and I know why people stop there. And it is kind of in the middle of nowhere, but it's also not as hard to reach as people may think. Everybody shows their pictures of it like it's some great accomplishment. It's 35, 40 miles out of a major city, and it's 200 meters off of the highway. It's not like you have to ride
Okay.
miles and miles and miles of dirt to get to it, which is probably why it's so popular too, because it's not really hard to reach.
Okay.
It's accessible, but all of the photos and everything make it look super remote. And I mean, it is in a very remote part of the world, in a very remote part of the desert, but it's not as hard to get to as people might make it out to be. It's pretty easy to get there.
It's not 500 miles from anything like
No,
you
it's
think
not
of it.
500 miles from anywhere. Right. It,
Okay.
it it looks like it looks it in the photos, and it's a neat photo opportunity. But
Just
but
peep.
it you'll see, this is a spoiler alert for anybody who watches the videos a little bit, but it meant a lot to me to get there, though. That was one of those moments where, and I talk about on camera, it's one of the few times in any of the videos that I've made that I talk much about some of my personal life and history and things like that, because that was one of those points where I realized that I'm getting to do something quite unique and quite special. And
Yeah.
there was a lot of times in my life where the idea of doing a trip like this was so foreign to me that I
As it
thought
is
that
to
I'd
me.
never be that I thought that I'd never be able to do it. And
Hmm.
um, that was
Well,
the point that I sort of spent a lot of time thinking about all of the goods and the bads of, you know, choices you make and the way life happens that led up to me having the opportunity to get to do this. And I really kind of reflected on it, and that'll be in the video. It's one of the few videos where I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff about my life in a video, because I think it's important to kind of understand that, it seems like it seems like what I'm doing is so unreachable. And there was a time when what I thought I was doing was unreachable, and it's not. You just have to decide you want to do it and find a way to do it. It's, I have no ability beyond what anybody else does. I'm just somebody who decided that that was important enough to me to dedicate enough time to go do it.
And I am unbelievably impressed by it all. And you make it sound like it's not that big of a deal. And I mean, it is, and it is. But you said, well, anybody can do it. Well, yes and no. Everybody has the ability to make it happen, but very few people have the willpower to make it happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
no,
need to take that compliment and run with it a little bit. You are doing something that a lot of us would like to think we can do, but no, we can't. And you're
that's
making
true.
it happen, and you're doing it.
That's true. And that's why I said, I decided and I was dedicated to wanting to do this. And it was a very big thing. And it's not easy. It took a lot of planning, a lot of saving, a lot of thinking about it. And, it's not a decision that you just make and go. I mean, there's people who do. There's people who make the decision and just go with no plan. I'm not one of them. Right.
Right.
But it's, it's not like I'm super wealthy. It's not like I'm, super skilled rider. It's not like anybody couldn't do this. If you decided that it was something that you wanted to put the effort in to go do, anybody can do it.
But that's the key. The commitment level you had to have for so long to make this happen. Everything from planning, from finances to preparation to paperwork, all the stuff that you've just done. A lot of us are like, can't be bothered. It's too much. I'm not going to do it. Before we go on a little bit, I want to kind of go with some of the comments. Pete's Moto Adventures popped in. Of course, he's a funny guy. He said it was very handy that the hand is not that far off the road. And Leaky's Bike It is here. Boots and Jeans Riders popped in. And
Boots and
they're all
Jeans.
here to say hi to you, not me. So
and Boots and Jeans are out there. They're doing, I loved their Tony Reno's Alaska trip and all of that stuff. Those guys do some cool stuff.
Yeah. And they just put out a video where they were kind of talking about the 2024 plans. It's not slowing down.
Good for them.
Yes, it is. It's great for them. And I'm going to end up chasing them down at some point. Same with you. If you come back this way, even remotely close, I'm going to try to meet up with you like I did on your way south. I'm going to try to catch you on the way north.
Yeah, I mean, I that's way too far off to know what my plans coming north are. And if we're really honest, I'm still waiting to find out what happens with Mexico. I don't know if
that was one of
Mexico or not.
Yep, that's one of my future questions. Is now that you brought it up, can you go to Mexico right now?
At the moment, no,
Okay.
I can't right now. I filed the paperwork, and they said it will take up to a year. We'll let you know. I have not heard a thing from them since. So
wow. So you'll deal with it when you get to that point. I know you.
Yeah. When I get to Colombia, if I haven't heard from them, I'll have to decide if I'm going to ship it back to Miami and go back that way, or if I'm going to chance going into Central America. The problem is, if you can't go through Mexico, you can't go very far in Central America before you hit Mexico. Once you're in there, those countries are very small.
Right.
Yeah, that'll be a problem for a different day. I'll deal with that one when I get to it.
Why I'm sitting here looking at you and thinking he's probably just going to say, I'm going to ship the bike to Africa and you go over there and ride.
There was a time when that was a distinct possibility, and the plan was, maybe Europe, maybe the stands. No, the stolen motorcycle and having to buy a second bike and kit it out and all of that kind of the only way I could make this work with finances were go down and back. There's not going to be an extension on it. I just can't afford to do an extension.
Okay.
So
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna,
I
yeah,
get that for
I'm
sure.
gonna try to time it. I'm gonna try to time it that I use up all my travel budget. Like the day that I get back, I'm broke on the travel. But yeah,
Sounds
I don't.
perfect.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to get back and go, wait a second. I could have spent another 2 months traveling because I have the money left.
Hmm.
That would be that would be a travesty, right? Um, yeah, so that's going to be the game coming back up, is kind of tracking the finances and the money and figure out just how slow I can go and how much I can see on the way,
And how many people you can see.
and how many people I can see and meet. Well, and now I have all the Brazilians that I've got to go see again on my way back up.
I think you need to buy some property in Brazil so that I have a place to come visit.
Funny enough, I was talking with
I'm waiting for this one.
Andre and Andresa, who again you'll see in the videos, and you'll see in some of the Instagram posts coming up, because I'm just now on the Instagram stuff doing the Carretera Austral pictures. But I ended up doing the Carretera with Cristiano, and then another couple from Brazil, Andre and Andresa, that were two up on a V-Strom doing it.
Oh, nice.
And then another American. And I was just talking to Andre and Andresa on Messenger, and Andresa they were asking a bunch of questions about what type of women I like, and she has some friends that she has in mind when I come to Brazil to introduce me to.
And your answer
And
was
Andre says,
beautiful
I don't
and
think
rich.
you leave Brazil. Yeah,
That's
and Andre
awesome.
says, I don't think you leave Brazil once you get here, John. So
That's okay.
yeah, we'll see
I'm
what
all for
we'll
that
see.
because it gives me a place to go.
Yeah.
All right. This is something that I'm not the only one who wanted to kind of talk to you about and ask you about. Carson also was very curious. You recently posted just today, or just yesterday, you posted the video where you were going through northern Peru. And it was, I mean, I hate to say it, it was ugly. It really was. And
Yeah.
this was the first video that I saw of you where you were not the normal, look at this is amazing. You were down a little bit. And Carson and I both wanted to know, and others, how often have you gone through some of these emotional ups and downs on this trip? I mean, on your videos and your posts and everything, it's always up.
Yeah.
And I know that there's got to be downs. And of course, you're not posting videos and pictures and stuff with the downs very often. How has that roller coaster been for you?
It's not much of a roller coaster, for really honest. I have posted pretty much everything as it's happened in order. There's not a lot that's been skipped. There's not a lot that's out of order or edited. That was one of the down points, and that was one of the down points where I was at was a down point. The other one, I posted it was in Baja in the desert when I dropped the bike, like 6 times on video, and
Yeah.
but that was a different type of down. I was frustrated with myself, not where I was at. The Peru one, though, I didn't like it. I didn't like being there, and I wasn't having fun on that stretch. I've just got to get through this, and it was multiple days that built up to that moment. Even in some of the other videos, it was the way that it was edited. You don't see in northern Peru. It was every single day I'd get to a hotel and I'd find a hotel and I'd ask them about a restaurant, and they'd tell me where a restaurant was, and I'd go and there'd be a sign on the door that they're closed. Or I'd look on Google Maps and try to find other restaurants, and you show up and it's the building hasn't been used in 10 years. Who knows when Google Maps was updated with the fact that there was a restaurant there. And I'd wander around town looking for something that was open. And I'd finally find something that was open, and it would be, they don't serve me anything but ceviche, and I've had ceviche the last 3 days, and I don't want ceviche. I want anything but it. It was just, I couldn't, and maybe it was, I'm willing to give Peru. I don't want to make too, and I said that in the video, is, I don't really want to judge Peru by the route that I took and the time that I spent there, because I know that there's some beautiful, beautiful places in Peru. But the route that I was on was not it. And I just didn't understand the way the country worked. I didn't understand the way when things were open worked. I couldn't find, even mini markets open sometimes to buy water. At times it's like 10 in the morning and you're filling up with gas and you're looking for a mini market to just buy some more water for the day while you go out riding. And I couldn't find anything open. Like I just struggled with figuring out the rhythms of the way that that part of Peru worked. And then you throw the garbage on it, and the wind was relentless. It was pretty much a constant 30 to 40 mile an hour crosswind or diagonal wind for days on end going through the desert. And so the riding wasn't fun. You're getting blasted by sand, you're getting blasted by the wind. The view never changes. It's the same, just sand dunes and a strip of road through it. And then whenever you get to where you're going to stop for the night, you find a hotel that's usually pretty crappy. Then you wander around to 4 closed restaurants before you find something that's open, and it's not the food that you wanted. And then just, compounds day after day. And then, a lot of the hotels, they'll have breakfasts included because there's very few breakfast places, as you saw in the video. And the hotel that I stayed at that night did not offer breakfast. It wasn't an option. So there wasn't even, anything or a cup of coffee. And then I'd set off on the road, and all I wanted was a cup of coffee.
We're having serious caffeine withdrawal.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and I'd ridden before the point where in the video that I start talking about the breakfast and that first place that I stopped, I'd been on the road an hour and a half, and there was nothing but sand. There wasn't even a town with any shacks on the side of the road or anything. So that was the first inhabited place I got to. And that was the place that I stopped was the very first restaurant that was open that had a sign, and it was a ceviche place. I don't know about you, but at 10 in the morning, I do not want ceviche for breakfast with no coffee. But I thought, if they have a loaf of bread and a cup of coffee, that'll be enough for me. But they, when I asked the woman, she didn't even have coffee. And then it was just nonstop looking for something.
Yeah. And then right down the road, there was a breakfast place with coffee and everything.
Yeah, of course, which is the way it goes.
Yep.
Good night, Christy. See you in the morning.
Good night, Cristiano. Yeah, it seems to me that on such a long ride that you're going to have a lot of really highs, but that you will have the lows. And if that was one of the first times that you had a real low, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, it was, I can't think of another time that I was low. I mean, there were times where I'm tired, but that's not a low, right? There's a good tired too, where it's just like, I had a really good, busy freaking day, and I want a beer, I want to go to bed, and I'm tired, I want to sleep. But I don't think of that as bad. The only 2 places that I think were kind of down points in the whole trip since I left in March was that day in Baja with Tomac, and where I dropped the bike a bunch of times and I got frustrated. But even then, that was a day where I was frustrated with myself, and it was like, this is hard. I should be better at this than I am.
I know that feeling exactly.
But I was in a beautiful place. I mean, it was a harsh place, but it was beautiful. And it was I'm glad that I went and got to do that. The Peru stuff was just kind of like, I've just got to get through this and get to the other side when things get better. But it was a hard run of probably about a week, where it was just like, I'm not really having fun doing this, but I've just got to get to the other side.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that you had that you did a video that we'll see soon where you did some of the introspection kind of stuff, the looking back. So we get that to look forward to. So now you're down there. You're at the southernmost point. You're gonna basically just be turning around. Carson wants to know: are you taking a different route back through Peru? Are you going through Peru?
Yes, no, I'm going through Peru. There's no way around going through Peru. You have to go through it. But yeah, I mean, my plan is to take the route through the Andes, through Machu Picchu and Cusco and all those places, and hope that I have a different one. I don't think that I've talked to some other travelers who said they absolutely loved Peru, and I was like, I hated it. But we compared notes, and everybody said, oh yeah, when you take the Pan America route you did along the coast and through the desert, yeah, that's miserable.
So you're not going to go that same route through Peru.
So I'm not going to go that same route. No, I'm going to take all the twisty, windy, hopefully dirt roads and things like that through the mountains and go to the beautiful places. But but at the same time, is I hope that I get a different experience with people too, because I had the woman at the gas station that was the right person on that day that I needed to talk to. And I had a few other really, really fantastic interactions with people in Peru, but I also had a lot of people that kind of gave me the scowl. It's the only country on this whole trip where when I wrote through, I wasn't getting thumbs up about what I was doing. I was kind of scowls like, what do you do here?
Okay. That was another one of my questions is, your experience right after the bike was stolen when you were still in Mexico before you went home. And a lot of the stuff you've shared on some of your videos, and even you and I have talked about, when you got to the southernmost point in the parking lot of the national park, and there was all these people there, I can imagine there was a little bit of disappointment, I guess, that it wasn't you and the sign and being able to just you and yourself get there. But you told me this story, and it involves people that made it all better.
There's also somebody that shows up on this. Hang on, my battery's of course dying on that also. But
You're breaking up.
no, this I was. Meet me. I mean, I'm gonna carry upstairs here.
We're having trouble.
That's bad.
Okay, folks, hold on. We're working through some technical difficulties here. I'm not sure what Dewey's up to, but I wonder if it's going to help with the breaking up of his Wi-Fi or not. Oh, it's been an adventurous live stream. Not as adventurous as his trip, but he has had a day, I would say. But Jack, glad to see you in here. That's pretty awesome. I'm with you on the food thing. I can't eat a whole lot anyway. So if I were to do a long trip like this and go places where food was a little bit tough, and I'd have to be like Pete was saying, I'd have to have a jet boil and have some freeze-dried food with me or something, because there could be times where I just don't find stuff that I'm physically able to eat for lengths of time. Even the little trips I've done around here, there has been times where I'm kind of hungry and I'll get to some place to eat and they just don't have anything that I'm capable of eating if I'm camping. And so one good thing about when I take a trip is I usually lose weight, but going on an international trip would probably be almost impossible for me and my dietary problems. And so I get that. And yeah, you're right, Jared. You do run out. Hopefully, maybe I can get Amazon to deliver it with the drones or something. I don't know. Yeah. Another question for Dewey. I know he took his camping gear. I was going to ask him that too. I don't think he's camped a whole lot since he left Mexico. So when he comes back, I'll definitely ask him that, see if he has done some more camping. Some of the videos he did when he showed where he was camping down in Baja was just amazing. He was camping right on the ocean and it was super cheap. Yeah, Pete, I definitely think um, anywhere you travel in this country and Canada, you're going to be able to find chicken nuggets or a hamburger, or you may pay $30 for it, but pizza, something. So, um, yeah, I'm traveling around here, traveling this country. I'm sure that I would not starve, but yeah, it would be cool if there was camping around here that was like what Dewey was doing down in Baja. That was pretty awesome. So I do believe he's trying to come back. Let's see if he got things worked out here. Still have a black screen on his end. All right, I can see you, Dewey.
I'm back.
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can.
It might be a little slower. I'm back up in my room now instead of downstairs in the lobby where the Wi-Fi is good. But I didn't have my computer plugged in and I ran out of battery.
Okay. Yeah, you were breaking up pretty bad, and even now your picture is freezing, but we can hear you. Can you still hear us?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you're breaking up real bad. If you can hear me, Carson wanted to know, as well as some of us, how much camping have you done in the last bit of your travels? Yeah, Jared, I can imagine there are places that do feel like you're in the middle of absolute nowhere out west. One of the reasons why I want to try to get out there and try to experience some of that, because it's something I've never done. Living on the East Coast, you're always near a city somewhere along the way. Yes, Carson. No, Carson, I have not done the Smoky Mountain 500. Roger's done parts of it. I plan on doing it hopefully early spring, and I'm looking forward to all of it except for that one river crossing they keep talking about. And parts of the Alcan, you better stop when you can. And I've heard that, Pete, that it can get pretty far out there, and you better have fuel. You better have stuff with you, just because you could get caught out there. And again, as I was saying earlier to Jared, that I definitely think that going out west, going to Utah, going to some of these places where you are out in the middle of nowhere would be a really different feeling for me, and I definitely want to try that at some point. My limited travel has no comparison to what you did when you went to Alaska, and absolutely nothing comparable to what Dewey's been doing. I've been on the East Coast. I think I've barely even been out of the time zone, and I'd love to go out west. I'd love to go feel the whole different terrain, the different scenery, and to experience what it's like to need a 2-gallon gas bag and have to use it. The salt flats, Des going out to the salt flats, that's another thing that I think would just be amazing to go see. And I'll get out there at some point. Yeah, and I think, Pete, Jared, I am probably boots and jeans riders, even with the traveling you do, I'm sure that you must need to carry some extra fuel just in case, anytime. And hopefully, when I go out there, I'll have it. Can you hear us, Dewey?
I can hear you. Hopefully this lasts better. I'm up in my room where the Wi-Fi is not as good, but I can plug the laptop in. So
Okay.
it's
Okay.
Trade-offs.
Okay. I don't know if did you hear me ask Carson, and I kind of both wanted to know how much camping have you done?
Sorry,
Can't hear you.
I just cut out on you.
Okay.
Did I hear you ask Carson's question? I can see it on the screen there.
Okay.
Um, yes, I have my camping gear. I have not camped out that much. I camped a little bit on the beach in Chile.
And yeah, I like that, Chuck. I kind of the bicycles irritate me a little bit now and then, but yeah, when they go just cruising past you when you run out of gas, yeah, that would be that would be something. But I've never come close to running out of gas. And Jared, you're right. I have a gigantic fuel tank. I can definitely get out of the time zone. Um, but you know, if I ever got to a point where I got super low on gas, I don't know what would happen. I'd be um, pretty nervous. So I would probably bring extra fuel just for that reason. And Pete, when you say Nebraska stinks, do you mean that it literally stinks, or just a place you don't want to go? And yeah, Carson, I kind of thought the same thing. One of the things he had mentioned to me too in some of the messaging was that a lot of the hotels and stuff were so cheap that it was worth going to a cheap hotel versus camping, just because, um, why not if he can afford it and it's within his budget. So I think, yeah, that's probably part of the reason why he's done a lot of the hoteling as well. And yeah, Rich and Cake, it is fortunate that you've never needed it, because if you don't carry it, it might be a problem. And Pete, I went and visited my grandmother in Iowa years ago, and I didn't get to Nebraska, but the getting to Iowa, same thing, just boring and straight and flat. I had my brother was with me, and he kept falling asleep, and I'd wake him up a couple hours later and like, we haven't moved, because it didn't look like it. Everything looked the same for hours and hours. So that part of taking a long motorcycle ride might not be so much fun. He's back one more time.
No, and this time I'm back on the good Wi-Fi. I brought my whole plug-in apparatus down with me. So solve both birds with one stone there.
Okay. Well, Carson and I, and through the chat, we were talking a little bit about, we figured that you didn't camp as much because, well, you didn't need to. The hotels
Yeah.
and stuff were.
Chile was quite a bit more expensive than other countries, but in Peru and Ecuador and Colombia, there's no point to camping unless you're going somewhere where you want to or need to camp. I was paying $10 to $15 a night for hotel rooms. So it's, why camp when you can get a shower, and a lot of those include breakfast, so you don't even have to worry about breakfast. Chile was a bit more expensive, and I camped in Chile because I wanted to. I wanted to stay at the beach and just be in my tent, and the weather was perfect where it wasn't too hot, so you could sleep well at night and be comfortable in the tent. No rain, the wind wasn't bad. It was a nice spot to stop, and I camped for 4 nights in the same spot, so I only had to put my tent up once and then take it down at the end, and
instead of every day.
Yeah. I'm hoping to do some more camping though. Now I'm down in Patagonia, kind of in this area, but the wind is relentless, so it's like you don't want to camp out here either, because when there's a 40, 50 mile an hour winds, it's not fun to sleep in a tent through that.
No, yeah, I'm sure. Again, we were kind of talking when you weren't around that I'm pretty much been on the East Coast. I've barely ever even been out of the time zone. And so I've not experienced those big, wide open spaces. I mean, there's trees and forests and mountains here like crazy. And so some of those experiences I've never had. And you have. I remember you did a video. I think you were on the Salt Flats, and the wind was
Yeah,
crazy.
the Alvord Desert in Oregon, which is a huge dry lake bed, and the winds were brutal. And I actually didn't. I mean, I camped out there because I had to. I didn't want to. I tried a campground with a hot springs kind of on one edge of that big dry lake bed, and the campground wanted $60 to put
Mm.
your tent up. And I was like, "You're kidding me!" And it was like, "It's free just out there." But the wind was brutal when I was out there. So
Okay.
that was a rough day.
Hmm. Okay. And so when you're coming back, you're thinking you're going to try to do a little more camping just because you have the gear and you want to, or because you need to?
No, if the place justifies being a good camping spot, I'm not gonna, the Argentinian hotels and some of the really, like Ushuaia is a little more expensive. El Calafate, El Chatan, those places where it's very touristy and pretty, you pay accordingly. But
Okay.
other places still, I'm paying $20 a night for a hotel if I'm not in those touristy places. So it's
Why
again, it's
can't?
tough and like I said, it includes breakfast, so you don't even have to deal with trying to figure out what you're going to do for breakfast because that hotel room includes breakfast. So
With
that's
coffee, right?
with coffee. So that's kind of it's kind of a no-brainer to just
Mhm.
go do that.
Let me just pop in real quick here and say hey to Matt. We got Hachui all the way from Australia
Dewey,
in here saying hey. And,
g'day, mate.
good day, mate. Yep, there you go. And so great to see you in here, Hachui. And
Yeah, it's what, early morning there? I'm not good
he's
with my time zones. I think it's got to be early morning in Australia.
yeah, he said afternoon, but yeah. What time is it over there, Hachui? Um, but yeah, we got Boots and Jeans and Pete talking a little bit about some of their traveling and the wind that they ran into out in the western states, like you did. And
Yeah, well, I live in those western states.
right. Yep.
I'm used to that wind. This is a different wind.
Okay.
Uh,
And-
yeah, I'm far enough south that there is no other continents down here, right? You hear about the roaring 40s and things like that, and I'm at 55 degrees south, so I'm farther south than Australia, than New Zealand, than any other continent. So there's nothing to stop the wind. And when there's no mountains and it's just plains, there's literally nothing. 360 degrees around the globe, the wind just keeps accelerating itself, and you get it.
That must make riding real interesting.
Yeah, it was about a 40-mile-an-hour crosswind on the day that I came in here, and
Wow.
you just lean
Yeah, lean
into
the
it.
bike over to go straight.
Yeah, and then it's funny because, there's been several times where you turn and it turns into a tailwind for a minute, and I'm doing 60 miles an hour all of a sudden, and it's dead quiet. Nothing. You're right.
Okay.
My jacket's not even flapping in the wind because I'm like in this bubble of no wind, and I'm at freeway speeds because
Nice on the
the wind
CRF
is just,
250.
yeah. But then when you turn into a headwind, then the 250 can barely keep 45 miles an hour, and you're full throttle and downshifting gears to try and go into the headwind.
Wow. Yeah. You see Jared's question on screen?
Yeah, Jared, I'm on a CRF 250 rally.
18,000 miles.
Yeah, 18,000 miles, and the 250 has actually done surprisingly well, and I actually really enjoy riding it, and it's an absolute beast off road. I will give it that, though. I get on the dirt roads, and I go from being the slowest guy on traffic to being the fastest thing on the road once it gets unpaved. I am passing anything and everything. It's phenomenal.
Nice. Nice. Um, oh, I had a question. My interviewing skills are gone. I lost that question I had for you. Um, but you were talking about uh, coming north and you're starting tomorrow.
Yep.
you say you don't have any real plans or anything, but just for tomorrow, do you have a goal tomorrow, or just going
Uh,
north?
no, I want to get part way. I've got to be in Punta Serenas on Tuesday to get tires put on
That
because
okay?
my tires are absolutely shot.
That was my question. Roger had actually asked me this the other day, and I forgot. Um, chain, tires. How many sets of tires have you gone through? Have you had to replace the chain?
No, I'm on the tires that I put on in Little Rock, Arkansas, on my way across the country. The ones that I had strapped on the bike
Yep.
until I got to Little Rock, and I put them on in Little Rock, and then we did the Florida bit, and I've been on those same tires. They've made it all the way here, but
How
they
many
are
miles on
done.
those tires?
Probably 13,000.
Holy cow!
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. No, they've lasted. They've been a phenomenal tire. I have the Mitos EO7, the original EO7, not the Plus, the original, which is supposed to last longer than the Plus. And yeah, no, they've worn well. They've done everything I've thrown at them. From the muddy days in Colombia and all those dirt roads to the
The
Carretera,
mountain
plus all
twisties.
those plus all those freeway miles loaded down and fighting the wind. They've done it all.
I assume you're getting another set of those put on.
No, because I can't find them.
No.
Which is actually why I'm in Ushuaia. I was in Punta Arenas a week ago, and I had talked to a guy who had tires there a month before that, but I didn't know when I was going to be there. And when I got there, he had the rear tire, but they were out of the front tires in the size I needed. And he said, but I'm getting a shipment in next week. So I said, okay, I'll go to Ushuaia and then come back and get tires when you've got new ones in.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's a lot of miles. And I've seen your videos where you're like going up and down the mountains on the twisties, you're cruising up at slow speeds, down at high speeds, you've been in the mud, you've been in the dirt. Those tires must be something else. And you can't get them.
Yeah, no, it's the first time I've ever run those tires on any bike that I've ever owned. And I was actually quite blown away with how good they were in pretty much everything that I threw at them.
Wow.
It's
And what
on the short
about,
list of one of my favorite tires now.
yeah, it sounds like it should be one of all of our favorite tires now.
Yeah.
What about your chain, your sprockets? Have you had to replace any of that stuff? Maintenance on them?
I did the chain in Miami because we destroyed it on our way into Miami. Right? We were limping it in.
Yep. I
It
do
made it
remember
to
that.
Miami, and I put the new one on in Miami, and that's the same chain that's on. When I was in Punta Arenas last week, I did oil, filters, all of that with the mechanic there because I was already at the shop and they just didn't have the front tire. And we talked about putting just the rear tire on. And then when they said, well, we have new ones coming in, it was like, okay, I'll just come back in a week and do them both. But we did oil, filters. We looked at the chain and the sprockets and the wear, and he thought I was good for quite a while to go still, which is, it's doing
Also
pretty
really
good.
good.
Yeah.
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 And your clutch and your brakes and none of that, brake pads.
Well, so I did front brake pads when I was in Colombia when I did the fork seals because I blew the fork seals,
I remember that video.
and all of the fluid had gotten all over the front brake pads. And so we put new front brake pads in. The rears, I have not done a thing to. They're getting there in, maybe another 10,000 miles. I'll need to do rear brake pad. It depends. The nice thing about the 250 is, you're not slowing down a lot of weight when you need to use it. I don't need to use the brakes a lot with engine braking and the speed of that bike and the wind resistance. That's pretty much all I do is I just ride it with the throttle. And unless it's a stoplight or something like that, I don't need the brakes.
Okay. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, or steep downhills. But there's times when with that bike and the wind that I've had, I'm going downhill into a headwind and I'm having to accelerate just to hold my speed downhill. So
Right. Little bike problems.
Yeah, little bike problems.
Yeah. You see Carson's question there?
How often do I oil my chain? It depends on what I'm doing. When I'm on the pavement days, I'm really bad about it. I do it maybe like once a week. I'll give it a squirt down. Um, Doing some of the dirt stuff because it's just been getting caked with it. I try to, you know, add a little bit something a little bit more often.
I assume you're cleaning it real good too when you've been out on dirt.
No, I don't have any way to clean it very well. I just
So you
hose
just
it down with lube. Figure it'll fling itself off.
yeah, that sounds like my kind of maintenance.
Yeah, yeah,
And you see Chuck's question?
yeah, Chuck. That varies wildly. Um, the gas quality you get here varies wildly from very good gas to absolutely terrible gas, and that can give you, you know, a 50-mile swing in what your gas tank will not do. Um, and on a small bike like mine, the wind as well can give you a 50-mile swing on a tank. So if I have bad gas and a headwind, I can get 100 miles per tank less than I would get in ideal conditions. I have gotten as good as 250 miles out of a tank, and I've gotten as bad as 130 miles out of a tank. It really depends on the conditions a lot.
That's yeah, that's a big difference. Yeah. But a
Yeah,
light
yeah,
bike, I get it.
yeah. I mean, there were times coming through northern Chile in the wind where it was a constant headwind for an entire day or more than a day, and on a bike as small as mine, with the normal 6-speed transmission, you know, I was down into fourth gear and wide open throttle in fourth gear, just trying to hold 50 miles an hour because that was all that it could do into that wind. And especially with the hills and the elevation and the questionable gas, when you're wide open throttle in fourth gear all day, you just burn through the gas comparatively.
Hmm.
Um, if I get a bit of a tailwind or if I'm off road and I don't have to keep the revs up and I'm not pushing the bike as hard because I'm not going as fast, then I get a lot better mileage out of it.
So you're very happy with the bike.
I am, yeah. I mean, certainly I'd like an extra, 15 horsepower. Big dip, but yeah, it's done everything I've asked of it. And for the most part, unless I'm on what's essentially one of the one or two freeways they have down here where there's
Hmm.
stuff going fast, I'm generally about the fastest thing on the road, just with the cornering speed that I can carry. And once it goes unpaved, nothing's keeping up with me.
Right. So when you do get back to North America, you're going to have to just try to find all the dirt roads.
Yeah, yeah. I if I ride back if I end up shipping it to Miami because I can't go through Mexico, I can tell you the route that I'm not going to take all the way home.
You're not going 41? You're
I'm
not
not
going
gonna,
40?
yeah, I-40. I'm not going to take I-40 all the way across the country again on a 250.
All right. Matt brought up a great question that probably should have asked a long time ago, but hey, it works out great because Matt's here and we can answer that now.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. Every border seems to throw something new at you that you aren't aware of and don't expect. uh, but generally, they're pretty easy. They all follow the same formula, which is you do your passport, and then you do the motorcycle, and on the other side you do your passport and then you do the motorcycle. Uh, but some of the borders, they want you to x-ray something, or they want you to pay for fumigation, or you have to have a form that everybody needs to stamp and you don't know. And I mean, the language barrier for me is the biggest part of that because I don't always have the words to ask the right question to find out what I need, but generally there's somebody there to help. That said, I also haven't gone through some of the worst borders of this trip yet because I missed going through Central America. The Nicaragua border is infamous for taking hours and being a real pain and nobody being willing to help. So, I'm going northbound. If I'm able to go through Central America, then I'll have to go through that, and that'll be a whole different thing. But you usually just figure it out. And a lot of times the people there are very helpful. The truck drivers and just the other people that are crossing are generally very helpful with, when you look completely lost, at one on the Chile border, I went up to the immigration people to get my passport stamped, and they said, do you have the paper? And I'm like, what paper? And they said, the paper. And I'm like, I don't know what paper you're talking about. And they're like, we won't help you without the paper. I'm like, what paper? And they're like, the paper. And this little old grandma who was probably 80 years old and, all of 4'9", grabbed me by the arm and, walked me over and pointed at the casino of all places and said, you go there and you have to go into the casino and there's a guy with a card table set up and you have to pay him money to get a paper that they all stamp and you give to the exit guard at the end. And I'm pretty sure there's nothing legal about it, but that's how they do it at this border. So, and they probably all split the money at the end of the day. But
Wow.
I didn't know what this paper was. But yeah, the little grandma just could tell that I didn't know what I was doing and that I was a foreigner, and she pointed me to where I needed to go. And then once I had the paper, then it was okay. Yeah, now here's your passport stamp. Let me stamp that, and then yes, you go over there, and that's the next step. And you decide that was the key to the universe, was that piece of paper.
The guy at the casino.
The guy at the casino. That
Wow.
you had to pay $1 or $2 for the form.
Jeez, that's again, you're doing it. To me, that's like intimidating as heck. Not knowing what I was doing.
I mean, you don't know, but what are you going to do? You figure it out. Eventually somebody's going to help you, or you're going to figure it out, or you're going to ask the right question, right? It's just a matter of how long that takes to get through that process.
The right
That's where the
question to someone who can understand it.
Yeah, that's where the not getting frustrated part. You've got to have a bit of patience. You can't be, it's not traveling between the U.S. and Canada, right? It's
Right.
you're in a different place with different rules, and you just got to try to figure out what those rules are.
So is Nicaragua the one border crossing you're not looking forward to, or is there other ones?
No, and I mean Nicaragua is notoriously the worst.
Okay.
Luckily, I know a lot of people that have been through it that have given me very, very good information on what I need to do and exactly what I need to do. But it's still, I've got to go do it at some point. I'll find out how it goes.
All right. Speaking of, met a lot of people and learned a lot of stuff. Tell us about some of that. I know that you got Cristiano with you now, but you've also met a couple other people who are doing a lot of Instagram and YouTube stuff, and even the people who aren't doing the social media stuff that have been super helpful and that you were able to spend some time with, like the people at Donkey Sunrise. Tell us about how all that has gone.
And I mean, it's been fantastic, and that's the stuff you don't plan, right? You can't plan meeting somebody very easily. It just happens. You realize when you do something like this, in some ways a lot of people doing it, but in some ways there's very few people doing it. And,
right.
Because you see all these social media accounts of people doing it, and you realize that there are a lot of people doing it, but then you realize that all the social media accounts that you follow is everybody that's doing it. And they're all sharing it, and you're all kind of on a similar timeline because you have a very small time window to get to the bottom. So kind of everybody comes down in one big group and then they head their other way. And you get to certain places where it's there's only 2 roads in this part of the world, one on the Argentinian side and one on the Chilean side. So everybody's on those 2 roads, so you're going to meet everybody that's doing the trip one way or the other, because there's nowhere else to go.
You've run into people on multiple occasions. Like you said that you met Cristiano, and then you guys separated for a little bit, and then now you've met up again. Wasn't there a couple that you met?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a couple couples that I've met. I met a couple from New Zealand when I was at Donkey Sunrise, and then I met up with them again in Ecuador. And then I haven't seen them since, but we still talk a lot because I ended up ahead of them. And I've been perpetually ahead of them, so they haven't caught up. And then they're going to Santiago and then going back to New Zealand. Then I met the other Brazilian couple that we did the Carretera. It was kind of a whole group of us that ended up doing the Carretera together.
That's
And
awesome.
we all got on the impossible ferry that nobody knows how to get onto, and now we all know how to get onto this ferry because we all managed to make it work. And last minute we got 5 people onto a ferry that nobody can get onto. So we
I
all high
remember you
five
telling
ourselves
that
about that
story.
whole process.
Yeah, talk about
Yeah,
that just a little bit, because when you sent me the first message, I thought, oh no, he's going to be stuck there.
yeah. We weren't sure if I was going to be stuck there. This ferry runs once a week. It only leaves on Saturday. There's only one, and it's a 2-day. It's a full 2-day ferry. It's like 46 hours if everything goes well. And apparently it books out months in advance. And the problem isn't space on the ferry for cars and vehicles, which is normally the issue, right? Is there going to be room to get your car on? The problem is that because it's a 48-hour ferry, they have to have food and a place and an assigned seat for you to stay in. So because they have like reclining bus seats that you sleep in at night, and then they have to have the food planned out and all of that stuff. So the problem is that they limit it to 124 people or whatever their number of seats is, right? And if there's 124 people, then it doesn't matter if there's all the room in the world for your motorcycle. If there's not a spot for you, you can't go. And everybody we've talked to says this ferry books out months in advance, and there's not a chance that you're going to get onto it just showing up at the dock. So we showed up in the town where the dock is on Wednesday, and the boat sails on Saturday. And
Okay.
we went in, and so Thursday morning, because we got there at night, of course, and we asked the tourist information people about it, and they said, maybe not. This is where you need to go. You need to go to this office for the ferry if there's a chance for you to get on. And we went there, and when we first got there, they said they opened at 10. We got there at 10:20. It was decidedly not opened. It was completely closed.
Okay.
And one of the guys that I was with said he was going to stay there. I was going to run back and take a shower because we were going to be leaving that day to go to via O'Higgins at the end of the road, one way or the other. I said, I'm going to the end of the road. And if I don't have a ticket, then I'm going to ride back all the way as far as I need to until I can get over to where I need to. But he was bound and determined he was going to stay there, and he didn't want to go to O'Higgins, and we were going to ride back together after I went to O'Higgins if it didn't work out. And there was this whole plan. So he said, I'll stay there. And eventually some young girl walked by and saw him sitting there and said, do you need help? Are you lost? And he said, oh, I'm waiting for the ferry office to open. She goes, oh, let me call Jasmine, or whoever the girl is, and calls her and says, hey, there's somebody waiting outside your office. Next thing you know, he says, 3 doors down, some woman walks out of her house, goes, oh, it comes down. And
That's awesome.
but sure enough, she was the key to all of it. And we basically said, here's what we're trying to do. And she said, okay, I can't book the motorcycles on, but I can sell you 3 tickets for your seats. And she said, if you have a seat on the boat, we're pretty sure we can fit 3 motorcycles. That's usually not an issue because motorcycles can slide in between trucks, and we can, there's always room. But she's like, I can sell you 3 seats. And so we said, okay, we'll take them. And then that's when we talked to Andre and Andresa, the other Brazilians. Is we said we have 3 seats. And they're like, oh well, their original plan was they were going to ride back a different route and head back towards Brazil. And they're like, well, if you guys got on, maybe we can get on. And they didn't have any seats left, but the lady told her, to show up at the dock and we'll see what we can do. I give you a 50-50 chance of getting on it, even if you just show up. But then what we found out was we had a reservation problem, and she hadn't put stuff in the computer right. when we actually got there, well, the day before we got there, Cristiano got a message with his confirmation, and the Brazilian passports, they lists your name, your parents' names, and both your mom and your dad are listed on your passport names, and which is very different from in the U.S. And somehow she had put his dad's name down for the ticket, not his name.
Oh no.
And so he's like, they're not going to let me on the boat. He's like, I'm going to show them my passport, and they're going to go, Cristiano, we only have an Oswaldo on here, you know. And so they're scrambling to figure that out with his. And he said, you know, Cristiano, and he's like, I just want to make sure, can you send me John's confirmation? I want to make sure that everything's right on his too. And then when she says, oh, we have a problem, John's isn't in the computer system. She's like, but I know I made it. And she's like, but everything will be fine. Go to the ship, you know. So we get there at the ferry, and sure enough, you know, Cristiano's has been fixed. He's on the list, and the other American Terry's on the list. And I'm like, you know, then I'm like, John, you know, and the guy at the boat's like, you're not on here. I'm like, no, I have a reservation. Here's my reservation number. He's like, you're not on the list. I'm like, no, I have a reservation. Here's my reservation number. He's like, you're not on my list. And then that's when Cristiano talked to him, because Cristiano's Spanish is very good, whereas mine isn't. And he said, you know, call Jasmine at the ferry company, and you know, that you work with. And so he texted her, and sure enough, he gets a text back from her that said, yes, I sold John a ticket. Yes, he needs to be on this ship. And he basically said, okay, we'll make it work. Come on up.
And so you all got on the boat.
And we all got on the boat, even Andre and Andres that didn't have a ticket, and they almost didn't get on. So they at the very end, they loaded everybody else, and they said, we have 2 seats left. And they went to somebody that was in the line in a van, and they're like, you know, how many people do you have? And they're like, 4. And they're like, sorry, no room for you. And you know,
wow.
And then they went to the next people in line and said, how many are you? And they said 2. And they said, you're on. And that's when Andre was right there. And he said, wait a second, wait. He said, no. He's like, I've been waiting here all day. Those people got here an hour ago. He's like, I've been here for 6 hours waiting to get on this ship. Why do they get to go and not me? He started making a big deal about it. And finally they said, okay, fair enough. You know, come on. And they loaded him on very last minute and found
room. Well, that's pretty cool though, that you all got on the same boat so you can hang out together and kill some 46 hours.
Yeah, so we all got to hang out together for 46 hours, and then we all ended up in where it drops you off is right where Torres del Paine National Park is, which is, you know, some people say it's the most beautiful national park in the world, and then, you know, it might very well be. It's incredible. Andre and Andresa and I did a loop around it, and Cristiano went off to hike. That's where we ended up. Cristiano did kind of a hiking trip around there that he had gotten reservations for. And then I came down this way, and then he's just now catching up while I'm going the other way. So it's been a fun process.
Sounds like just you told me you've been writing some things down, and I think that's going to be fantastic. You know, a year from now, 2 years, 10 years from now, for you to go back and look at it, because I know from experience with some of the trips Roger and I have made that he jotted some notes down. Every once in a while, he'll pull out his little notebook and he'll just one line, and all these memories will come flooding back. So I think that for you to do that, it's just going to be amazing in the future. And
yeah, no, and you know, memories fade as much as we want to remember everything. You know, there's no way that I'm going to remember or recall everything, and so I do a little daily write up of what happened, just so I have something.
And again, I know from experience that, like I said, in years from now, you're going to pull that out, whether it's on your phone or a notebook or however you did it, that it's just going to have all these memories associated. One line will bring back a whole day's worth of memories. And I think it's awesome that you're doing that.
It is. And a lot of it, you know, it's for me, almost every day of the trip, there's some exceptions, but almost every day of the trip, I meet somebody who leaves an impression on me that I sort of think about for that day. It was like that was my interaction for the day with somebody that I wouldn't have met any other way if I hadn't been doing this crazy thing. There's no way that me and this person would have ever crossed paths. And some of them are, and some of them keep, I think it was just on my personal Facebook. I think I just posted a day or two ago. I got a message on my phone from somebody that I had met at a gas station and talked to for, 10, 15 minutes at a gas station. And, shared social media stuff. And, he sent me a message to just see how I was doing, make sure that I was doing okay in Chile, make sure I didn't need any help or that anything like
That's
that.
awesome.
And just little stuff like that, as you meet people in the funniest ways, and sometimes you keep in contact with them, and sometimes they reach out to you, and it's fun to know that somebody's thinking about what I'm doing.
That I know you're recording a lot of stuff with cameras, but it's little things like that you don't record that are going to stick with you, and I think that's fantastic.
It is, and you can think about this however you want. I'd hope that people don't think about it the wrong way. I purposely don't record those kind of things as much as I think that it would make for a really good video to share those moments, because I think that's kind of the stuff that people really want to see on a trip. But I think that taking out a camera takes away from those moments. I get a few minutes to talk to somebody one-on-one as a person. And I think if I get the camera out at those times, it's going to take away from that interaction, just being, two people talking. And I don't want to do that. For me, that's the important part. That's more important than filming it. That's more important than what happens with the YouTube videos. Is I'm here to have those experiences, just talk with somebody for a few minutes from a different part of the world that I wouldn't meet any other way. And
yeah, and
I think if the camera came out, it would take away from those interactions.
I think you're right. Turning on the camera, I think, would definitely take away. I think the only way it wouldn't is if the camera was already on and they didn't know it, but it might take away from how you react. If you know the camera's on, you might.
Yeah. And some of them gotten, a couple of videos back in my Ecuador one, there was the guy who stopped me in the roundabout and just that was another motorcycle rider and wanted to, make sure I was okay and make sure I was connected with all the different Latin American motorcyclist groups so that they knew where I, if I needed help, who I was and all that stuff. And I just happened to have the camera on for that whole interaction. And I edited it down really, I sort of short a brief bit, but it was quite a long conversation with him. And so sometimes you get it, a little bit of it on camera, but most of the time I just don't even filming it's not even on my radar, something to do. I'm going to go have the interaction. If I want to talk about it in a video, I might talk about it, but I'm not going to try to film it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're right. I see a lot of videos where people do film that interaction, and I wonder how they got it all set up, and did you lose some of the genuineness of it? I have trouble just doing it because I'm shy, but I do think that it would take away from the experience a little bit if you record it, even though it's great YouTube. Because for people who aren't out doing that and experiencing meeting people while they're traveling, that is something they really enjoy to watch, because it's so different.
It is. And it's it's really the essence of doing it, right? Is I could see pretty things riding around Oregon, or the Northwest or the United States, right? You go to other places because you get a different cultural experience as well.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that cultural experience is talking with people, and sometimes it's just hand signals and pointing at stickers on the motorcycle and and giving them the thumbs up, because there's no my Spanish isn't good enough and they don't speak any English, so we get as far as we can get, but people are interested and you get to have an interaction with somebody that you wouldn't, and get to see a little bit of somebody else's life for just a short brief period, and I think that's the important part.
Yep. Even in the limited traveling I've done, when I come home from mom's and I do it all in one trip, I'm stopping for gas like every 180 miles. And I always try to stop for a little bit longer than just fueling up and going. I'm not trying to do an iron butt or anything, and I will spend some time. Inevitably, I end up talking to someone, a family with kids, and I'm letting them sit on the bike and let them take pictures. Um, just random people. Oh, I love your motorcycle. I had one guy. He's talking about the bike, and he ended up sitting on the bike and doing a live stream with his wife. Hey, this is my new bike, and that kind of thing. And that is such a great part of it. And I don't think I've recorded hardly any of that. And I'm okay with that because I enjoyed it.
Yep. No, and like I said, is you're gonna ruin the moment. If as soon as you take a camera out, the other person's gonna know a camera's there, and they might not be as genuine, and they might try to play their part, or whatever. It's the fun of it is just talking to somebody new, and I don't need to record that. That's for my memories, and some of them I may not even remember, but it may be a memory for that other person. The time they met the crazy gringo on his big red motorcycle
Yep.
through their
You know,
little town.
I kind of think of that too when I'm out there, in that I'm not just making memories for myself. Hey Craig, I'm making memories for them. When I went camping up in West Virginia, I was actually in the tent getting some things ready, and I heard this woman talking, and there's obviously a couple of kids, and they were talking about the big motorcycle, the big yellow motorcycle. So I came out of the tent, and there was 3 little tiny kids, and I put them on the bike, and they were taking pictures, and they were loving it. And I didn't take any. Well, in a way, I did take pictures because she forgot her phone, and I took the pictures and sent them to her, but I deleted them. But I didn't do any recording of that for me, because I didn't want to take away from what she was doing. She was taking these pictures for her kids and for her husband, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, it is. And, and especially I'm to the point now where I realize that this trip isn't just my trip anymore. There's so many people that have made it possible and helped along the way. And it's, I think to not let other people be a part of the trip would be doing a disservice. So, every time somebody, because sometimes, it can be tiring. You're just trying to get your gas and get going for the next stretch on the road. And somebody wants pictures with the bike and wants to hear your story. But then you realize how much, that it's just as much for them, because that may be as close to doing this trip as they'll ever get in their life, is meeting somebody like me doing it, especially for people in some countries where there's not any money. The idea of traveling the world is just something that they can't ever aspire to, because it's not something that's doable. So I think that in that way, it's important to share that time and have those conversations, because that may mean a lot to somebody that you're talking to, because that's going to be as close as they'll ever get to being able to do it.
Yep. And it doesn't have to be such an epic trip as what you're on. It can be even small trips, somebody traveling by motorcycle. Yeah, I'm only going 700 miles, but somebody else thinks, holy crap, that's a lot on a motorcycle. And Craig and Lucinda, they're travelers too. So they've been through it. I bet they've met a ton of people, in all their travels, whether it's on the motorcycle or hauling the motorcycles. People who do it, whether it's this epic thing that you've done, or even shorter ones where, it's a day or 2 days or something like that, the meeting the people, to me, is the best part of all of it.
It always is. And I also don't like to, I don't ever toss the epic word around because there's always somebody doing more. And yeah, but there's always somebody doing more, and I don't think anybody should take away from what they're doing. I think I've said it in one of the other live streams we're doing. One of the more memorable motorcycle trips I ever did was a 3-day trip, because it was one of my first ever. It was the first ever time that I traveled on a motorcycle. I didn't know that you could do it, and for me, that 3-day trip was a big thing, right? And if you don't know that it's a big thing, it sticks with you, and for some people, whatever you're doing may be pushing your bounds and maybe all new territory for you, and that makes it just as epic as anything else. If you do a 2-week trip every single year, that 2-week trip is what you know and you're comfortable with it. Is it an adventure, or is doing something that's just pushing yourself a little bit farther, whatever that is? I think that's the key, is as long as you're trying to do something new, that's the important thing. No matter how big or small it is, it's all relative to what your experiences before that have been.
Mhm. And yeah, and I have to agree with that 100%. John made the comment that, I've ridden back from my mom's many occasions just in one trip, just one day, 11 hours. And I don't think of it as much as, I'm riding a Gold Wing, 750 miles is no big deal. But for somebody who's not done it, it can be a big deal. So yeah, what we consider epic, what you might consider epic, might be something that somebody else considers extra epic or not so epic. Some people, 700 miles on a Gold Wing in one day is like, yeah, that's boring. Other people are like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. And so it's all, like you said, it's all relative to what your experience is.
It is, and it doesn't take away. Like I said, I think that that's where I don't think there should be any competitiveness or comparison in what people are doing, because what somebody's doing might be a big thing for them, and it might be pushing their comfort zone, and that's a big thing. If you're pushing your comfort zone, you're doing something new. That's what matters. It doesn't matter if that's 2 days and 400 miles or 2 years.
Mhm. Yeah.
The thing is to just keep finding new places to go and find out that you can do more than you might think you can. You just have to go try it.
Right. And whatever it is that's a little bit new to you is an adventure that you've never done before. And like Craig is talking
Exactly.
about there, you know, the MABDR, for instance, is an off-road route. It's like 1,000 miles from Virginia up to New York, Pennsylvania line. And people have talked, oh, I'm going to do it, and then I got to find my way home. Well, as Craig is saying, every trip's a little bit different. You could even do an MABDR, any one of the BDRs, in one direction, turn around and do the same route in a different direction. It's a whole new road. It's a whole new route.
Or you can do the same route and the weather changes a little bit and it goes from a normal mundane ride to something that's a huge challenge. And
Right, testing all of your abilities, and yep.
yeah,
And so
it's the same. I've hopefully I don't step on any toes here, but I've kind of gotten a little bit disenfranchised with some of the adventure rider world and the adventure riders, because everything seems to be turned into, if you're not doing a hard enduro on a dirt bike with minimal camping gear, you're not adventure riding.
right.
And I think that's completely opposite from what it should be, which is, the whole point is to go see something new. If you're going out and seeing something new and doing something new to you, it's an adventure.
And it doesn't have to be off-road. It can be
It doesn't have to
all
be
pavement.
off-road. Yep. And it doesn't have to be hard off-road, even if it is. If you're going somewhere new and seeing new things, that's what matters. The doing it on a motorcycle, exposes you to the world in a different way than doing it in a car does. I think that's the point. But it doesn't matter what that trip is, as long as you're seeing something new.
Mhm. And like Carson said, exactly. Anything we do, we're experiencing it in full immersion. And so if it's 100% pavement, if I ride all the way to Carson's house, strictly on pavement, on the Goldwing, I've never been there. That's an adventure to me.
Mhm.
It's going to be something new and different and exciting. And you make it what it is. You can get on the bike and you can get to every gas station, be miserable. I'm just going to fill up. I'm going to grab a snack and I'm leaving. I don't want to talk to anybody. You're missing out. Make it enjoyable. It doesn't have to be primitive camping in the woods in the middle of nowhere with bears and moose and everything stomping around to be an adventure. Just go do something.
And I'm, like I said, I've done those trips, but some of the more memorable ones weren't what people would consider adventurous, but they were big deals to me, and it matters. So that's the important part, is just go do it.
Mm-hmm. And then you got people like me who just want to bug you and keep you up until 12:30 in the morning your time. just to talk
Yeah.
about it.
That's because we started so late.
Yep. And I'm still blaming you for that.
That was entirely me. Well, I'm blaming Cristiano.
There you go. He's asleep, so he can't fight back.
Right back. Yeah.
Well, with that, I think we should probably go ahead and end it because you got a big day tomorrow. You're actually starting to head in the direction kind of toward home.
Yeah. It's the first day. It's the first day in 9 months that I'm heading towards home in some way.
In some way. That's got to be a crazy feeling all in itself.
Yeah. And I will say, yeah, Craig,
Oof.
I would rather ride some remote roads in Mexico than I-90 through Chicago
Yeah.
on a weekday. No,
Yep.
thank you.
It's, and 95 degrees. No, thank you. Yeah. I do not do the city stuff. I'd be so freaked out on that. I would much rather go off in the woods all by myself, not knowing where I am, than deal with that.
Yes, I'm with you on that.
Hmm. And again, I think we probably kept you long enough, even if it was your fault. It's still been too long. So, Craig does have a final question for you.
Okay. On the way up in Peru. Well, that depends on if I end up hitched in Brazil. But that was you might have missed that part of the. No.
You have to explain that now, just for Craig.
Yeah, Craig. So we were saying I rode the Carretera with a bunch of Brazilians, and the woman that was in one of the couples has been messaging me since she got back, wanting to know when I'm going to get to Brazil because she has some friends that she wants me to meet, and she wanted to know what type of women I like.
That's so awesome.
They said their plan is for me to not want to leave Brazil by the time I get there.
I'm going to hook you up with a gorgeous, rich Brazilian, and you're never going to leave.
Yeah. But no, I'm not sure exactly when I'll get to Peru. Probably sometime in the summer would be my guess. Well, our traditional northern hemisphere summer.
Your winter, Matt.
Yeah, April, May, June, somewhere in that stretch, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know when you guys are planning to be there, but yeah, you know how to message me. So if you let me know when you're being there, I can kind of also look around, because if I need to ride there to meet up with you and then ride back to see something, it's not like that's a big deal either. So.
And as you know, that's going to be the same case when you finally get to the continental U.S. For me, I'll ride pretty much anywhere to meet up with you.
Yeah, well, as long as it's not that big of a deal. Especially if I'm still, if I haven't gotten home yet and had to start looking for work and a job, I got nothing. I got nowhere else to be. I can ride wherever I need to. So.
Right. Yep. So it looks like Craig's planning on being there April Fool's week.
Yeah, we'll see, because that may be one of those, because there's some stuff in Bolivia that I want to do, but I can bounce back and forth between Bolivia and Peru and figure out. Yeah, like I said, depending on if you're going to be in Lima or Cusco or where you're going to be, we can figure that out.
Well, I want to thank everybody for sticking around and bearing with all the technical difficulties and getting started late and all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. And Dewey, thank you for taking some time to share your adventure with us.
Oh, it's fun, and it's fun to see familiar faces. It's always good to talk to you, Patrick. I always enjoy it, and thank you for.
I do too. We probably should do it more often if you can get better Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and plan it better. It's
not when you're going out to eat with somebody.
Yeah, or if I've been writing for several days, I'm just tired. It's hard. So it's good to do when I'm taking a few days off, because I'm rested when I do it. But yeah, we should do it more often. And thanks for has Des been here the whole time? Did I just miss her comments?
She's been here. She's been in, paying attention to what you've got to say.
Yeah, no, it's good to see so many people in the chat. I always appreciate it, and the questions are great. And you also know how to get a hold of me if you have anything you want to ask me. Shoot me a message on Instagram or on somewhere else, and I'm always happy to answer it.
Yep. Yeah, because of course, Desiree, she's another one that just constantly traveling out and about, and she may not be a world traveler, but she's got this country covered. And I know she's been out of this country, but she's really amazing with what she does.
And trust me, there were many days in that wind where I've been going, why did I not do this like Des does and just get a toy hauler and bring it down?
Right.
Des
Yeah.
does know something we all don't.
Hmm. So, all right. Well, let's say goodnight to everybody.
Night, everybody.
Yep. Thank you all so much for being here and for the comments, for the questions, for hanging around. I really appreciate it. And next time we'll schedule it and hopefully we'll be on time and we'll do it again, hopefully not in such a long time from now.
Yeah, we'll do it sooner than later.
All right. See y'all.
See ya.
So